Hey guys, so if you know me on social media or in real life, you know how much I love mud water. Why? Why do I love it so much? Well, it's a really awesome coffee alternative because it induces alertness and not dependency. It helps to improve your mental capacity and function, physical stamina and performance, and your overall health. A few ingredients that mud water contains are lion's mane, which helps with mental performance, cordyceps, which helps with physical performance, turmeric, which helps with inflammation, and cacao, which boosts your mood. So, if you're looking for a coffee alternative that will enhance your overall mental and physical health, go check out my affiliate link at linktree/P.A.V.E podcast. This is Candace Shuford. Welcome to P.A.V.E Podcast. Here we focus on crafting content that helps you to feel powerful, augmented, vulnerable, and eclectic. We will have a stimulating and engaging podcast out on Thursdays. Let's work together and pave the way to you. Hello, friends. Today I am here with you all, and I have a special guest, Miss Kristen, and today we are going to have an awesome chat about ADHD. You guys have seen that I started a new feature series, and I wanted to bring on specialists to give us a few facts about ADHD, and she's going to talk about some other cool stuff. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Kristen.
Hi, Candace. Thank you for having me. Your podcasting voice is so beautiful. As soon as you started talking, I was like, oh, this woman was meant to have a podcast. Like, really, you were. So thank you for having me here. I am so glad to be here. A little bit about myself. I am, where to start? My ADHD brain is going in all the directions, but
and that's okay. We're here for it.
Okay, good. At the very basic level of it, I am a woman with ADHD. I am married to a smoking hot guy named Greg. We have 3 cute kids. They're all boys. My house is never quiet. It is never quiet.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy. I host the I Have ADHD podcast, and I also am a life coach working with adults who have ADHD. I love it so much. It is the joy of my life. I would not want to be doing anything else. So I'm living the dream.
That is awesome. You found your passion.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I did. I feel so lucky to have found it in my 30s, you know? That feels really good because I told you I'm turning 40 next week. So that's a new chapter, and I'm excited to bring in this exciting, fun stuff into my 40s.
Well, I feel excited for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the first question that I will ask you is, how did you find out that you had ADHD? So what's the story with that?
Everybody has a story, right? Isn't that funny? That they're like, okay, listen up. Let me tell you my story. It's so hysterical how with this diagnosis, we usually have some drama, some story surrounded it. So my story is that my dad, in his 40s, read Ned Hallowell's book, Driven to Distraction. And I can remember clearly, which is actually rare. I don't have many very clear memories. But I have this very vivid memory of my family sitting around at the Jersey Shore with our pool chairs. I almost said lawn chairs. What is it? Beach. That's right. Beach chairs, kind of in a circle. And my dad is reading out loud the symptoms list for ADHD. And we are dying laughing. So my sisters and we're all late teens. And we're just like, Dad, that is you. I cannot believe how accurately this describes you. So fast forward, he's medicated, treated for ADHD, and he starts nagging me And by nag, I literally mean my dad is a nagger. And so he starts nagging, like, you have ADHD. I know you do. You need to go get tested. I'm like, probably 19 at the time. And when you're 19, your dad knows nothing. I'm like, whatever, Dad, whatever. But you know, at the time I was double majoring in college, and I started to spiral. I started to notice, well, I had a lot of anxiety, which I look back now, I see that it was anxiety. I didn't recognize it as anxiety at the time. I was depressed. I look back now and I say, oh my gosh, I was totally depressed. I didn't label it as depression then. And so I finally, after like failing some classes and just like knowing I was smart, but I could not get my stuff together. Like I couldn't get it together. I finally called my mom and was like, I need something. I'm not sure what it is. I know that Dad says I have ADHD. I don't really even know what that means, but like, can I get evaluated? And so our family doctor, who evaluated and prescribed for my dad, also evaluated me. And so I think I was 20, 21 years old, and it was like, yes, you have ADHD. Here's some Concerta. And I felt so amazing. As soon as my medication was like regulated, I was like, oh, this is how people feel. This is what it's like. It for me really was like putting on a pair of glasses. I was like, I cannot believe the rest of the world functions like this.
Right.
Kind of like out of the box, like right away. Like their default setting is to function at this level. Like no fair. That's crazy. So
I can definitely relate to that.
Right? It's like, wait, you people have been functioning like this all along? Like who knew, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of the diagnosis story. It was always kind of a back burner thing for me, because when you're diagnosed, unless you are diagnosed by someone who really understands ADHD, and that's rare, it's usually like, you have ADHD, here's some medication, have a great life.
Right.
You know, check back with me in 6 months and we'll see how this medication feels for you. So I did not know anything about ADHD. And it wasn't until the last 5 years that I really started to dive into, what does this mean for me? What does it mean for my life? What does it mean for every aspect of my life? And that has been kind of just a whole new layer, a whole new journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, you know, like, how did it feel to just be like prescribed, you know, this medication and not really have any information? Did you want more information about the diagnosis, or what? It was a while ago. So like, what feelings came up?
You know, that's such a good question, because I think at the time, you know, when you're in it, not knowing that there's more information, I was just like, okay, cool. Thanks for the Concerta. Thanks for the diagnosis. I'll see you in 6 months. Right? Like I wasn't, now let's see, what was 20 years ago? Can we do some math together? So this is like very early 2000s, right?
Yes.
The internet was like there, but you're not really like, let me do a quick Google and find the 700 scholarly articles that I can read like in a moment. You know, it's like the internet was definitely available, but we didn't use it in the same way that we do now. Like it wasn't everything that was on there, you know? And so, plus I was like just a college kid. Like I was like, whatever. So at the time, I would say I believe that I experienced relief. Like, okay, I'm not a total screw up. There is something going on here. Yeah. So there was relief in that. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. But I didn't have any frustration about like, wait, what does this mean? Tell me more. that frustration has come later as I've uncovered so much more information. I'm like, excuse me, this information would have been real helpful 20 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. I love your energy.
I just get real sassy. I hope you don't mind.
Oh my goodness. I love it. All right. Well, that's really neat. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And for those listening, one of the other reasons that I wanted to chat with Kristen was because she also has a podcast. And so I'm interested to know how you got into podcasting. What was that like for you?
I love this question because I think the answer tells a lot about our community. So I went looking for adult ADHD resources probably about 5 years ago. As I began to, at the time, I owned a local learning center in my community, and I was helping kids who struggled in school. And I don't know why, but I just kept attracting all of these children with ADHD, right?
Yes.
Like, shocking. And I kept, right, exactly. Now, looking back, it's like, duh, Kristen, come on. But at the time I was like, oh my gosh, here's another kid with ADHD. I can't believe that I just keep like having all of these students with ADHD coming my way. And what was so fascinating is that, you know, as the owner of the company, I would be talking to their parents. Like, that was my primary role, is interacting with the parents. And ADHD is highly genetic. It's as inheritable as height. Okay. So if you think of, you know, like your dad's tall, there's a good chance you're going to be like on the tall side, right? Like ADHD is the same. So Dr. Russell Barkley has said, like, ADHD is as inheritable as height. So I'm talking to these parents and they're saying, like, you know, I really think I have ADHD as well, and I don't really know what to do with it. And I was like, yeah, like, I don't really know what to do with that either. So I kind of went looking like, okay, I want to learn. I want to be able to support these parents.
Yes.
And I found some things. And I found some resources, but I didn't feel like I found my person. I didn't feel like I found someone that I really related to, that I really like looked up to, that I was like, oh my gosh, this person is an awesome example of what is possible in the world. You know, I want to be like them. And so I just kind of every couple months would go back and like scan the resources, scan the podcast, like maybe now there's something, maybe now there's something for me. I just didn't feel like anyone was speaking to me. So there were people speaking, and it's good. Like, the resources out there are so good, but they weren't necessarily speaking to me. And eventually, after like 2 years of this nonsense of me like, well, maybe now there's magically someone else, right? Like maybe now someone has risen to this role. I was like, you know what? I bet I could do that. Like, I guess it's going to have to be me.
I love it.
So that is how it came about. I didn't enter the space as an expert. I didn't enter the space as like, hey, y'all, like, I know everything about ADHD. It was more like, okay, can we just like have a chat here? Cause like, I don't know what's going on. And I just got to put myself out there because I just don't feel like I have my people and I want to find them. And what's so cool about that is I really feel like I have found my people, and that like you are a testament to that. Like, just being able to connect with such amazing humans who I get to like put my weird quirkiness out into the world, and people are like, oh yeah, she's talking to me. I resonate with that. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're my people. It's like really just been so much fun.
That is so cool. Yeah. I mean, like as soon as like I saw you on the video, it was like, oh, yay, an ADHD person.
Right. there is this very common bonding that happens when we have that shared experience. Yes. And of course, your experiences are so different from mine, culturally, racially, like all of the things. We have so many experiences that are not the same, but this one common thing, it's enough. It is enough to connect people. And I have found that in my community, in my coaching program, we have people from all over the world, men, women, trans people, gay, bisexual, all different races. And we have this common shared experience of like, you guys, I got some crazy ADHD brain going on. And it is enough. It's enough to connect us. And I love that.
Oh, that is so neat.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I love it. It's really cool. It's beautiful. Yeah, and when I saw, just looking at your community of followers on Instagram, like everybody is really positive, in the comments and supportive. And I was like, this is so cool. Cause, I've kind of been looking, in a similar way for like my people, like where are like the ADHD people on Instagram? And so, I just like one day I was like, okay, let me just do a search and see what comes up. And I found you.
That makes me so happy. That makes me so happy because I think for a long time, there's been a hole. There's been space that has been asking to be filled. Where it's like, the voices that have been there are important, but they don't speak for everyone. And so there's been this space that's like been asking for someone to fill it. And I think now like we're gathering those people who are filling that space, who want to be very realistic about ADHD, who want to step into being empowered through this whole process. Yes. And who, a lot of us have been victimized because of our ADHD, but we do see a difference between the events of being victimized and taking on a victim mentality that says like, I can't because I have my ADHD, or there's no way that I could ever do XYZ because of ADHD. And so that's something that not everyone loves about me. That is something that is like kind of like a space that I feel that is not for everyone, and that's okay. But I'm happy to be in that role because, while we create empathy and kindness and space for the victimized, of course, we still have the choice to live lives in an empowered way. And that's what I want to just shout from the rooftops forever and ever and ever. Yes, I love it. You're like cheering in the background.
Yes, fist pumps all day. And that's the acronym for my podcast, P.A.V.E. The P is powerful. And so I love that you are talking about that. And in my most recent podcast episode that I recorded, I was talking about how when you have ADHD, we will say, like, people with ADHD will say things like ADHD is a superpower. And, it's not like we're trying to like boast ourselves up above everybody, but like we've just been, kind of stamped down for so long. And we're just trying to help people to see what it really is, full scope.
Love it.
Thank you. So tell me more about your coaching business.
Where should I start, my dear Candace? Where does it make sense to start? Do you want me to talk about how I kind of got into it and why? Would that be good?
Yes, that is a good starting point.
Okay, let's do that. So, I never intended to like, oh, I'm going to create this podcast and then I'm going to have this coaching program and then I'm going to sell the coaching program on the podcast. That was like totally not the intent. But what happened was I started to get a ton of people reaching out to me saying, hey, will you coach me, please? Like so many emails of people asking me to coach them. Yeah. And because of the personality that I have, I was like, yeah, I could do that. Maybe we could give that a try. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. And because of my experience coaching teens and developing an executive function program in my learning center for teens, I really was like, I know there's a way I can translate this for adults. Let's just kind of see where this goes. Mm-hmm. And as it turns out, I'm a pretty badass coach. Like, who knew? Right?
Yes. It's amazing the things that we discover as we go along in life that we had no idea we would ever get into. It's amazing.
Yes. And to that point, I want to emphasize that I would have never discovered that if I hadn't started the podcast, which felt like so overwhelming and hard. Mm-hmm. And I would have never discovered it if when people asked me for coaching, if I had said no.
Right.
So I was like, I'm not certified, so no. Or like, I'm scared, so no. Like I took a big risk saying yes. And through that risk, I was able to figure out like, oh my gosh, like this. First of all, I discovered two things. Number one, I've actually been coaching since I was a child. I just didn't realize. My friends are like, duh, Kristen, obviously. Right? Like they are just like, we've known this about you. Like, why are you just figuring this out? And then number two, that like, I'm really good at it. And there's so many people who need help. Mm-hmm. There's so many people that need help. And so, once I started to coach a bunch of people, the people that were just reaching out to me, right? Like without putting it out there, like, hey, I'm a coach, but people reaching out to me and them just like getting really good results, really enjoying it, really loving it. Then I started to say, okay, what will happen if I tell the world that I'm going to do this? And so I told the world, my little podcast world. And from that point on, I was always having more interest in coaching than I could ever keep up with. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I really, it's such a blessing. And also, again, it speaks to, there was this space that just was begging for someone to step into. Mm-hmm. So I do see how fortunate I am that space was even there, that there was this huge need like that doesn't go unnoticed by me. Like, I'm so thankful that I was able to recognize that. And that, I just think like divinely, it was just kind of like there for me to step into, because the relationships that I've been able to create and have, it's just been so fun. So in January of 2020, I launched a group coaching program.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because, so I coached one-on-one, and I always had more interest than I was able to keep up with. I honestly just took down the opt-in page. Like, not just, what I mean is, let me say that again. I was coaching one-on-one, and I kept getting people reaching out, and I was like, I can't. And so I just I took it off my website. I was like, I just need to shut it down and have the clients that I have. But when you're just one person, I could see 12 to 15 people a week. Well, that's not enough. There are thousands of adults with ADHD that need help. And so I decided to launch a group coaching program. And so in January of 2020, I launched my program called Focused, and it is so fun. We have the most fun ever. And I get to serve people all over the world, and I get to coach people and teach people and lead this community that is very much like you described the Instagram community, just like kind, positive, empowered humans. So fun.
Oh, that just makes my heart so happy. So happy. Just how everything happens so naturally, like organically for you, the process. It's really beautiful to see how, when you just go with it, and you really allowed yourself to step into your power, from what you were saying, like people asking you to coach, you didn't turn that away, you said yes. Thanks to that ADHD impulsivity.
Totally.
And I love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what is some advice that you would give to a person who is wanting to get started on something, whether it be a coaching business, a podcast, a new career path, and they are struggling with confidence, and they are maybe dealing with issues with focus and ADHD as well? What would your advice be for them?
So my advice always starts with, make sure you're taking your ADHD seriously. Make sure that the foundation is solid. So make sure that you are being seen by a medical professional, that you are following their advice, that if you have been prescribed medication, that you're taking it. Like, I was just reading a recent study, and I think there were, over 100 adults with ADHD surveyed, and only 30 of the 100 reported taking medication within the last 3 months. Only 30, meaning 70%.
Wow.
They were just like not even managing or nurturing or taking their ADHD very seriously. And so that's always my number one advice, because there are so many barriers that medication, coaching, therapy can break down for you. There are so many barriers that can be eliminated or lessened.
Yes.
Right? When you are taking it seriously and giving yourself the support that you really deserve, not just need, but deserve. You are entitled to this support. You are entitled to invest in yourself, to invest the time and the effort and the energy and the money to take your ADHD seriously and really level the playing field. And really, that's all it does.
Yeah. It
doesn't put you at an advantage over other humans.
Right.
All it does is level the playing field, neurologically speaking, right? Like, and that's not too much to ask. It's not too much to ask that we level the playing field and that we take the time to treat this disorder, because if we don't take it seriously and kind of put that at the forefront of our minds, then we're always going to be running into procrastination, shame spirals, distractibility, emotional explosions, quick to being frustrated. And those symptoms can be lessened with the proper treatment and support. Not that they go away,
right?
But they can be lessened. So there's that. And then transitioning to something new and different, that is what we do best. That is what our ADHD brains do best.
Yeah.
Like, this coaching business is my third company. It's not my first. What? It's not my second. It's my third company. I graduated with a music degree. Like, I am not doing what I set out to do when I was, 18, 25, even 30 or 35 years old.
Man, that is so neat.
Yeah, it is. It's so cool. And also, I think that there are a lot of people out there who beat themselves up for that.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, man, I'm not doing what I went to school for. Man, this is my third or fourth or fifth company, or my third or fourth or fifth job or idea. And I just want to normalize that. Like, that is fine.
Yes. Yes. Let's normalize that, please.
Can we please? It's totally fine. So having the confidence to know yourself well, and to tune into your inner authority, your inner knowing of like, this is the next step for me. And even if my mom thinks that I'm, just like bouncing around, or even if my partner thinks like, hey, are you being impulsive here? Like, are you just switching because you don't like it? Whatever. Like, tuning into that inner authority of like, I know myself best and I know this is my next step. That is so important. And no one can do that hard work for you.
Right.
We often want to look outside of ourselves for that validation. We want to go to our best friends and say like, is this okay? Am I allowed to do this? And then we want the friend to be like, yes, you're good. It's fine.
Asking for permission. Yeah.
Yes. But like, we need to be looking inward for that. Is this okay? Question mark. And then sit there with it until we have a deep internal knowing of, yes, this is okay, proceed, or no, it's not. Like, take a breath, you know?
Yeah. I love that so much.
Oh my goodness. And this, I think, is so pervasive in the ADHD community of this wanting to delegate our authority outside of ourselves instead of tuning into, I am a grown-ass woman and I get to decide what I do next.
Right.
Even if it's, only been a year since my last job change. It's fine. Or even if it's only been a year since my last idea, or even whatever, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. This is what our brains do best. We have these great ideas, and sometimes they're not quite the thing. So when I was transitioning out of my learning center, I had all of these thoughts of like, am I being impulsive?
Mm-hmm.
Am I into something that I actually should be doing? Like my real calling?
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know. Right? Am I leaving money on the table that, like, at that time I was making enough money to pay my bills. Mm-hmm. So like, that's not insignificant. That's big.
Yes.
I'm married to a pastor. So I had to be making some money.
Right. And you have 3 little ones.
And I have 3 boys. Like so it wasn't insignificant to say I'm leaving behind this job, this company that I created, this baby that I like nurtured.
Yeah.
To do this coaching business where there's like no guarantee of income. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee of stability. And I really did have to make that deep, like, okay, even if this doesn't work out, this is still the right step for me. Like, I want to go find out. I want to go see.
Yeah.
And that was really powerful for me.
Wow. That is beautiful. I'm so proud of you.
Oh my gosh.
That's really wonderful. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with you today, Kristen. This has been so good for my heart. I'm feeling so great after our conversation. And yeah, I just hope that we can have another interaction, and I look forward to seeing all of the other wonderful things that you're going to put out to the world. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun. I love it.
You are beyond welcome. Well, guys, if you would like to find Kristen on Instagram, or if you are interested in her coaching, I will be sure to link all of that in the show notes so that you guys will know where to find her. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to shoot me an email or reach out to me on Instagram. Thank you always for your time, and let's keep working together to pave the way. to you.